They thanked me for always helping, while using my $4,000 to upgrade my sister to first class and giving my room to a stranger. It was a Thursday in mid-January. Freezing rain hammered against the windows of my Chicago office. I was hunched over my keyboard, untangling a supply chain crisis. My phone lit up. Mom, I just wired $4,000 that morning. Every penny of my carefully hoarded bonus. It was for the family's flights to Italy. My older sister Natalie's wedding at Lake Como. The smile that spread across my face was genuine. I still believed that taking care of family meant something. Hi, Mom. Did you get the? Alexandra, honey. There's been a small change to the sleeping arrangements at the villa. My mother's voice had that particular chirpy tone, the one she used when delivering bad news. The groom's business partner. He's very important, dear. We gave him your room. My fingers stopped moving. The Excel sheet blurred in front of my eyes. Where am I supposed to sleep? Oh, you're so resourceful, sweetheart. There's a perfectly nice youth hostel about 5 miles from the villa. I looked it up online. It has excellent reviews. Well, mostly excellent. 3.5 stars. A youth hostel. While everyone else got the villa. Mom, I just sent you $4,000 for the tickets this morning. Did you? There was a pause. A very long pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Well, about that, honey. Emma really needed good photos for her Instagram. You know how important her influencer career is. The lighting and economy is just terrible. So I used that money to upgrade her to first class. It was only $4,000. It made such a difference. She's going to tag the airline and everything. My hand tightened around the phone. The office suddenly felt too small, too hot. And my ticket? Oh, you always figure things out, Alexandra. There's an economy flight with 3 layovers. You might miss the ceremony, but you don't mind flying economy, do you? The words landed like physical blows. You always figure things out. My vision tunneled. In my mind, a slideshow began to play. 10 years of memories flickering past. Their taxes, passwords, bills, emergencies. Everything. I fixed it all. You always figure things out. Not thank you. Not appreciation. Just expectation. Because I was a utility. A free service. A tool to be used and put away when no longer needed. My phone buzzed against my ear. An email notification. I pulled the phone away from my face and looked at the screen. Confirmation. First class upgrade. Emma Reed. O'Hare to Milan. $4,127.50. There it was. The confirmation email. My $4,000 bonus. Converted into first class seats for my sister who had never worked a full-time job. Something inside my chest didn't break. It didn't shatter. It didn't crack. It froze. Like water turning to ice. Every warm feeling I'd ever had toward my family crystallized into something hard and cold and permanent. The door to the heart must be closed when trust is broken. I heard the words in my mind. An old saying I'd read somewhere. I didn't understand it then. Not really. Honey, are you still there? Alexandra? I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. My voice when it came was calm. Terrifyingly calm. I'm here. Oh, good. So you'll look into those economy flights? And maybe bring some snacks for the layovers? Airport food is so expensive. And you're always so good at. I have to go, Mom. There's something I need to take care of. Of course, dear. Don't work too hard. We'll see you in Italy. Oh, and could you bring that nice scarf Natalie wanted to borrow? The blue one? She forgot to ask you. And I hung up. For a moment, I sat perfectly still, staring at the rain-soaked window. Then I reached down and opened the small safe hidden beneath my desk. My fingers found the worn passbook immediately. Aunt Victoria's savings account. $120,000. Aunt Victoria, my father's eccentric older sister, had died 3 years ago. At the funeral, she'd pulled me aside. This is for when you can't stand them anymore, Aunt Victoria had whispered. Not if. Then. Because they'll drain you dry, sweet girl. They'll take and take until there's nothing left. This is your escape hatch. Use it. I had laughed it off then. I wasn't laughing now. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a piece of paper. My hand was steady as I wrote one sentence. Mom, you're right. I do always figure things out. And I'm going to figure out my own life starting right now. I picked up my phone and called my mother back. She answered on the first ring. Did you find a flight already? I told you that you were. Mom? I interrupted, my voice like steel wrapped in ice. You're right. I do always figure things out. and I'm going to figure out my own life starting right now. What? Honey, what are you? I hung up. Then I powered off my phone completely. Outside, the freezing rain continued to fall, but I no longer felt cold. I felt nothing at all. And somehow, that felt exactly right. I am 32 years old. I have spent the last 10 years of my life fixing my family's problems. I have given them my time, my money, and my energy. I have been their IT department, their accountant, their personal assistant, and their ATM. And in return, they have taken my $4,000, given away my room, and told me to figure it out. I chose to walk away. I chose to disappear. I chose to build a life where I am no longer a utility. Am I the asshole? Let me tell you what happened next, because the story doesn't end with that phone call. It was only the beginning. Friday morning arrived with bitter cold. I walked into the office building wearing the same clothes I'd worn yesterday, having spent the night on my couch, staring at the ceiling, making lists. My resignation letter was printed, sitting in a manila envelope tucked under my arm. Harrison Vaughn's office was on the corner of the 14th floor, all glass walls and expensive furniture. I could see him through the window, leaning back in his leather chair, feet on the desk, talking loudly on his phone, probably taking credit for someone else's work. I didn't knock, just walked in and placed the envelope on his desk. Harrison looked up, irritated. He held up one finger. Wait, and continued his conversation. Yeah, we crushed that logistics problem. I stayed up all night working on it. My team is solid, but you know how it is. I have to do the heavy lifting myself. I had worked until 2 in the morning on that problem. Harrison had been at a sports bar. He finally ended the call and picked up the envelope, pulling out the single sheet of paper. His eyes scanned it. Then he looked up at me with a smirk. Immediate resignation? What? You get a better offer. Something like that. Harrison leaned back in his chair, that smirk widening into something predatory. I don't think so, Reed. You sign a non-compete agreement. 12 months. You work for any logistics company in North America or Europe, and I will sue you into the ground. I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I picked up my box of personal items. The coffee mug Aunt Victoria had given me. The small succulent that had somehow survived 3 years of office fluorescent lighting. The photograph of my college graduation. I looked at Harrison and smiled. Don't worry, Harrison. I'm going to a place you don't even know exists on a map. His smirk faltered. What's that supposed to mean? It means your non-compete specifies North America and Europe, but the world is bigger than your limited geography knowledge suggests. Have a nice life. I walked out of his office, leaving the door open behind me. I could hear him yelling something about professional courtesy, but I was already in the elevator, the doors closing on that chapter of my life. The next 48 hours were a blur of calculated destruction. By Friday noon, I'd sold my car to CarMax for $18,000 in cash. It was a low offer, but I took it without blinking. The weekend was spent in a frenzy of liquidation. I listed my furniture on Facebook Marketplace at prices so low they triggered a bidding war. Strangers came and went, hauling away my couch, my kitchen table, and my bed frame. By Sunday evening, my apartment echoed with emptiness. On Monday morning, I walked into my apartment leasing office, handed over $3,000 to break my lease immediately. The manager had looked at me like I was insane, citing the 60-day notice clause. But cash on the table had a way of bypassing bureaucracy. By noon on Monday, I was sitting in a bank branch, transferring every penny of my savings, the $18,000 from the car, the 3 years of careful saving, and Aunt Victoria's $120,000 into an HSBC expat account that my parents knew nothing about, an account that couldn't be traced through the family's usual financial ecosystem. At 9 p.m., sitting in a coffee shop, I opened my laptop for the last time before selling it. I logged into my email and set up a scheduled message. One email, to be sent on the 1st of every month to my parents' email address. The message was simple. I am still alive, safe, and healthy. Do not waste time filing a police report. I will not reply to anyone. Proof of life without giving them any way to find me. I would be a ghost. I scheduled the emails to send automatically for the next 5 years, then closed the laptop. At 10 p.m., I walked into a Verizon store, bought a cheap prepaid phone with cash. I spent 20 minutes transferring only the essential contacts, none of them family. Then removed the SIM card from my old phone. I snapped it in half and dropped it in a trash can outside the store. At midnight, I was at O'Hare Airport, standing in line for a one-way ticket to Lima, Peru. South America, not North America, not Europe. Harrison's non-compete didn't touch it, and Peru had something else: alpaca wool, leather goods, and textile suppliers that no one in Chicago had direct connections to. I'd been researching for months, looking for an edge, a way to build something of my own someday. That someday had just arrived early. The plane lifted off at 3 in the morning. I watched the lights of Chicago shrink below me, then disappear into the darkness. Somewhere in that city, my phone was lying in a landfill, and my family was starting to panic. 3 days after I left, my father tried to log into his investment account. The system asked for two-factor authentication. Code sent to phone ending in 88. That was my number. They tried calling me. The number was disconnected. They called my office. I no longer work there. Then Mom's phone buzzed. My first email. I am still alive, safe, and healthy. Do not waste time filing a police report. I will not reply to anyone. Mom understood. I was gone, and I'd locked them out of everything. Spring arrived in Lake Como 3 months later. Natalie's wedding should have been perfect. Instead, it was chaos. Wrong flowers, misspelt names, dietary restrictions not communicated. I had organized everything, and I wasn't there. Emma stood in the courtyard, taking selfies in her bridesmaid dress, oblivious to the chaos. She'd posted 17 Instagram stories from her first-class flight, complete with champagne flutes and the airline-branded sleep mask. The engagement was decent, though several followers had asked why she was flying first class, while her sisters were nowhere to be seen. Natalie stood near the villa's fountain, her makeup artist trying to fix her running mascara. She was crying, not from joy, but from stress. Where is she? Natalie kept asking. Where's Alexandra? She would have fixed all of this. She always fixes everything. Mom patted her oldest daughter's shoulder helplessly. She's just running late, dear. But Mom knew better. My monthly email had arrived. The wedding happened. The ceremony was beautiful in spite of the disasters. And Natalie and Michael said their vows as the sun set over the lake. But there was an empty chair in the family section, and everyone pretended not to notice. Back in Chicago, the bills were piling up. Dad tried to log into their bank account. Locked out. Security questions he didn't know. They went to the bank branch. 3 hours later, temporary access. But the damage was done. The IRS payment was due April 15th. It was now June. Penalties, interest, and a review revealed underpayment. Total bill, $98,000. Due immediately. Dad's face had turned the color of old newspaper when he opened that letter. Emma continued her spending spree through Italy. Designer dresses, handbags, Michelin-starred restaurants, all charged to the family credit card. The credit card statement arrived. $53,000. Emma claimed they were work expenses. Content creation. But the Reeds' cash flow was breaking. Their credit score dropped from 810 to 680. Banks started declining their cards. While my family was melting down in the Chicago spring, 5,000 miles away in the Andes Mountains, I was dying. Or at least, it felt like I was dying. The fever had started 3 days ago. I'd been hiking through mountain villages, meeting with local textile suppliers. When the headache hit, by nightfall, I was shivering uncontrollably, despite 3 blankets. By morning, I couldn't stand without the world spinning. The hostel owner, a kind woman named Maria, had brought me soup and medicine. I tried to sit up, but my body betrayed me. I collapsed back onto the pillow, sweat soaking my hair. I lay in the narrow bed, phone in hand. It would be so easy. One call. They come. But then I heard it. You always figure things out. Not help, not care, just expectation. Because when they helped, it came with strings. My hand loosened on the phone. It dropped onto the thin mattress beside me. Maria entered the room, seeing my distress. She sat on the edge of the bed, lifting my head gently and spooning warm broth into my mouth, murmuring comforting words in Quechua that I couldn't understand, but felt deep in my bones. A stranger was showing me more care in 5 minutes than my family had shown in 5 years. 3 days later, I woke up weak, but clear-headed. The fever had broken sometime in the night. I sat up slowly, my body aching but functional. I looked at my phone, still lying on the mattress where I dropped it. Something had died in those 3 days. The part of me that needed them, that believed family meant more than shared DNA, that thought love could be earned through service. That part was gone. The door to the heart must be closed when trust is broken. I understood it now. When trust is broken, you close the door. You protect yourself. You move on. Over the next 12 months, I became a ghost story in the supply chain world. I started small, using Aunt Victoria's money to buy samples from local artisans. Alpaca wool scarves, leather bags, woven textiles that major retailers in the US would kill for. I spent weeks in villages that didn't appear on Google Maps, learning which families had the best craftspeople, negotiating prices in broken Spanish that got better with each passing week. I learned to read the weather by watching the clouds gather over the mountains. I learned which buses to take and which to avoid. I learned how to spot quality just by running my fingers over the weave of a fabric. And slowly, my reputation grew. The American woman with the cold eyes who pays fair prices and always delivers on time. That's what they called me in the villages. Not warm, not friendly, but reliable, trustworthy. Someone who kept her word. By month 6, I had exclusive contracts with 12 family workshops. By month 9, I was shipping containers of goods to boutique retailers in New York and California. The money started flowing. Not a trickle, a flood. By month 14, my net worth had tripled. I turned Aunt Victoria's $120,000 into nearly $400,000. And then Bridget Foster called, a legend in logistics. She'd built Nexus Logistics from a single warehouse into a global powerhouse. She tracked me down through the supply chain network. We met at a cafe in Lima. I don't care about your resume or degree, she said. You've done in 12 months what most people couldn't do in 5 years. I need someone who can build something from nothing. I sipped my coffee. What are you offering? Global Strategy Director. Chicago headquarters. You'll have a team of 20. A budget of $15 million. And complete autonomy to build out our South American supply chains. Salary is $270,000 base, plus performance bonuses that could double that. Full benefits, relocation assistance, and a corner office overlooking Lake Michigan. It was triple what Harrison had paid me. It was the kind of position that usually required 15 years of experience and an MBA from Harvard. When would I start? Bridget smiled. It was the smile of a shark who just spotted prey. I want you back in Chicago by the 1st of May. We'll handle everything. You just show up and start making me money. I calculated. It would be nearly 16 months since I left. I'll take it. We shook hands. The deal was done. On the 1st of May, I landed at O'Hare Airport. I'd left amidst freezing rain with 2 suitcases and a broken heart. I returned in the sunlight with 4 suitcases, $400,000 in assets, and a job that made my old position look like an unpaid internship. I didn't call my family. I didn't tell them I was back. Let them read about it in my automated monthly email if they wanted proof I was still alive. I had work to do. The Nexus Logistics headquarters occupied the top 12 floors of a glass tower in downtown Chicago, the kind of building that reflected clouds during the day and glowed like a beacon at night. My office was on the 42nd floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of Lake Michigan. It was August, and I'd been there for 3 months. In that time, I'd restructured Nexus's entire South American supply chain, cut shipping costs by 22%, and secured exclusive contracts with manufacturers in Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador. My team worshipped me. Bridget sent me emails with subject lines like, "Why oh you're making me rich," in all caps. And Harrison Vaughn was losing his mind. I first became aware of Harrison's attention when one of my old colleagues sent me a warning text. Harrison knows why oh you're at Nexus. HE just lost THE Argentinian contract TOUS. HE's furious. Be careful. I wasn't surprised. The logistics world in Chicago was small, and my success had made waves. I'd known he'd find out eventually. What I didn't expect was for him to come after my family. Emma was desperate. My parents had cut off all her cards. She was broke and looking for someone to blame. When Harrison Vaughn slid into her Instagram DMs, she listened. They met at a Starbucks. "Your sister screwed me over," he said. "I need proof. Emails, chat logs, anything that shows she downloaded company information. What's in it for me?" Emma asked. Harrison slid an envelope across the table. $10,000. Consider it a consulting fee. Emma rationalized it. I had abandoned the family. I deserved whatever was coming. She took the envelope. 2 weeks later, Harrison filed a formal complaint with the Nexus Logistics Board of Directors. The email that arrived in my inbox was terse and cold. "Board meeting. Conference room at 2 p.m. Monday. Your presence is required. Bring legal counsel if desired. I opened the attached PDF. Doctored emails, fake chat logs, fabricated timestamps. All bullshit, but convincing enough to destroy my career. I picked up my phone and called my lead IT specialist, a brilliant woman named Claire, who'd worked in digital forensics before joining Nexus. Claire, I need you to pull the complete cloud audit trail for my user account from my last company. Everything. Every file access. Every timestamp. Every login. And I need it by Monday morning. That's 2 days, Alexandra. I know. Can you do it? There was a pause. Then, for you? Hell yes. This is about that complaint, isn't it? Yes. Then let's bury whoever tried to bury you. Monday afternoon arrived with a kind of bright sunshine that made Chicago feel almost hopeful. I walked into conference room A, wearing a navy suit and carrying a laptop bag. The board of directors sat around a massive table, Bridget at the head, 4 other executives flanking her, and Harrison Vaughn, sitting across from me with the smile of a man who thought he'd already won. Bridget didn't waste time with pleasantries. Mr. Vaughn has brought serious allegations against Ems Reed. He claims she violated her non-compete agreement and stole proprietary information from his company before joining us. Mr. Vaughn, present your evidence. Harrison stood, clicking through a PowerPoint presentation that would have made any lawyer proud. The doctored emails, the fake timestamps, the manufactured chat logs. As you can see, Harrison concluded, Ems Reed systematically downloaded client information to her personal computer in the 2 weeks before her resignation. She then used that information to steal our clients after joining Nexus. This is clear theft of trade secrets, and I'm prepared to sue both her and this company for damages in excess of $10 million. The room was silent. Bridget turned to me. Do you have anything to say? I stood up. I didn't look nervous. I didn't look scared. I looked like someone who'd been waiting for this moment. I do. I opened my laptop and connected it to the room's projection system. Mr. Vaughn's evidence is impressive. Unfortunately for him, it's also completely fabricated. I clicked. A spreadsheet appeared. This is the cloud audit trail from Microsoft Azure. Immutable records. The file Mr. Vaughn claims I downloaded on January 10th. The audit trail shows it was created on April 3rd, 3 months after I resigned. Created from his own computer using admin privileges. He backdated a file and forgot cloud systems keep separate records. I clicked through more screens. Every piece of evidence is fabricated. The room erupted. One of the board members, a gray-haired man named Peterson, leaned forward. Mr. Vaughn, this is a serious accusation. Are you saying Ems Reed is lying about these cloud records? Harrison stood, his face red. Those records could be manipulated. They can't, Claire said, stepping into the room. I had asked her to wait outside until needed. I'm Claire Reeves, digital forensics specialist. I pulled these records directly from Microsoft servers with proper legal authorization. They're cryptographically signed and timestamped. They cannot be altered. What Ems Reed is showing you is the objective truth. Bridget's eyes narrowed. Mr. Vaughn, you came into my company and accused my employee of a crime, using fabricated evidence. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Harrison's mouth opened and closed. Then he tried a different tactic. Even if the files are wrong, she still violated her non-compete. She's working in logistics, and that's expressly forbidden. My non-compete specified North America and Europe. I interrupted. I spent a bit more than a year in South America, which falls outside that geographic restriction. I didn't violate anything, but you just committed fraud and attempted to extort this company. That's a crime. The silence in the room was deafening. I picked up my phone and set it on the table. But there's something else you should know, Mr. Vaughn. While you were busy fabricating evidence against me, I was doing some research of my own. I clicked my laptop again. A customs form appeared on the screen. This is a harmonized system code, an HS code, for a container you shipped last month. You declared it as rubber shoe soles under HS code 6406.2, which carries a tariff rate of only 2.5%. I clicked again. A photograph appeared. The contents of a shipping container, packed with high-end finished leather shoes. However, the container actually held finished men's leather footwear, which should have been declared under HS code 6403.99. Not only is the base tariff 8.5%, but since these were imported from a specific region with active trade sanctions, They are subject to an additional 25% anti-dumping duty. You've been systematically mislabeling containers to avoid paying nearly 30% in taxes. That's customs fraud. Harrison's face went from red to white. Where did you get those photos? I didn't, I said calmly. But U.S. Customs did. I filed an anonymous tip 3 days ago. They opened your container for random inspection this morning at the Port of Long Beach. Based on what they found, they're currently obtaining a warrant to audit your company's import records for the past 5 years. The door burst open. 2 people in dark suits stepped inside. Harrison Vaughn and Special Agent Morrison, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. We have a warrant and need you to come with us. The room exploded into chaos. I calmly closed my laptop and picked up my bag. I walked past Harrison as the agents were reading him his rights. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I didn't say a word. I simply left him there, his career collapsing around him, just like he tried to do to me. Karma, it turned out, was even more efficient than a well-organized supply chain. Later that evening, Bridget called me into her office. That was the most spectacular professional takedown I've seen in 30 years. Bridget said, pouring 2 glasses of scotch. How long have you been sitting on that customs fraud information? Since month 6 in Peru, I admitted. I heard rumors about his shipping practices through the supplier network. I started documenting everything, just in case. I knew he'd come after me eventually. Men like Harrison always do. Bridget handed me a glass. You played the long game. I learned it from my family, I said. They taught me that people will take everything from you if you let them. So I stopped letting them. We clinked glasses. By the way, Bridget said, the board voted. You're getting a promotion. Senior Vice President of Global Operations. Effective immediately. $50,000 raise and a seat at the executive table. I set down my glass. I don't know what to say. Say yes, then get back to making me rich. I smiled. Yes. 2 weeks later, I met the people who shared my DNA. The restaurant was called Virtue, an upscale establishment in Hyde Park. I had chosen it deliberately. Public enough that they wouldn't cause a scene. Expensive enough to make them uncomfortable. I arrived first, wearing a charcoal gray suit. The hostess led me to the private dining room I'd reserved. I sat down, ordered a glass of wine, and waited. They arrived together, a united front. Dad and Mom came through the door first, and I was struck by how much older they looked. Dad's hair had gone completely gray. Mom's face had new lines around her mouth and eyes. They looked tired, worn down. Natalie came next, visibly pregnant now, her hand resting protectively on her belly. She wouldn't meet my eyes. And finally, Emma. Dressed in clothes that I recognized as being from last season's collection, her usual designer accessories, conspicuously absent. She looked angry before she'd even sat down. Alexandra, Mom said, her voice wavering between relief and reproach. You came back. I've been working downtown. I just didn't tell you. The implication hung in the air. I'd been back and I hadn't called. Dad cleared his throat. We got your emails. 1 a month. Do you know what that did to your mother? Yes. It gave you proof of life without giving you any way to track me down. That was the point. Emma slammed her hand on the table. Your problems? Your problems? Do you have any idea what you did to us? Dad almost lost the house. Mom had a panic attack every time the phone rang. Natalie's wedding was a disaster. You're so selfish, Alexandra. You just disappeared and left us all to suffer. I took a sip of my wine, perfectly calm. Left you to suffer? Or left you to handle your own affairs for the first time in your lives? We're family, Emma shouted. You don't just abandon family. Family, I repeated, my voice cold. Is that what we are, Emma? Because family doesn't steal $4,000 meant for plane tickets and use it to upgrade themselves to first class while leaving their sister to find a hostel. Family doesn't give away someone's bedroom to a stranger at their own sister's wedding. Mom flinched. That was a mistake, honey. We didn't think. No, you didn't think. You never do. You just assume I'll figure it out. Because I always do, right? The table fell silent. A waiter appeared with menus. They ordered quickly. Nobody was really hungry. When the waiter left, I continued. But let's talk about family, Emma, since you brought it up. I reached into my bag and pulled out a manila envelope, yellowed with age. I placed it on the table. Emma's eyes went wide. She recognized it. No, Emma whispered. You wouldn't. Open it, I said to my parents. Dad reached for the envelope with shaking hands. He pulled out the contents. Police reports. Court documents. Liar's invoices. His face went slack as he read. Mom leaned over his shoulder, her hand flying to her mouth. 4 years ago, I said, my voice perfectly level. Emma got drunk at a party. She decided to drive home anyway. She lost control of the car, jumped a curb, and plowed into a parked 1965 Jaguar E-Type. Totaled it. And then she fled the scene. Dad looked up, horrified. A hit and run? A felony hit and run with massive property damage, I corrected. The owner of that Jaguar was a litigious real estate mogul. He wanted blood. He wanted to press charges that would have left Emma with a permanent criminal record and potentially prison time. Emma was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. She came to me. I continued. Begged me not to tell you. Said it would kill you. So I liquidated my entire savings account. $15,000 for a specialist attorney who managed to get her into a diversion program so the charges would be dismissed upon completion. Another $3,000 to settle the civil damages that insurance refused to cover because she fled the scene. I cleaned out my emergency fund, my 401k, took the early withdrawal penalty. Everything. I looked directly at Emma. I saved you from a criminal record. I saved your future. I kept your secret for 4 years. And you repaid me by selling fabricated evidence about me to my former boss for $10,000. The silence was absolute. Natalie spoke for the first time, her voice barely a whisper. Emma, is this true? Emma couldn't speak. She just nodded, mascara running down her cheeks. Dad pushed his chair back from the table, staring at Emma like he didn't recognize her. You did what? Harrison Vaughn approached me. Emma sobbed. He said Alexandra had violated her contract, that she'd stolen from him. He offered me money, and I needed it. Mom and Dad cut off my cards. I couldn't pay rent. I didn't know what else to do. So you framed your sister? Natalie's voice was sharp, angry in a way I had never heard before. The sister who kept you out of jail? I didn't think it would work, I thought. I don't know what I thought. Emma's sobs were getting louder. Mom was crying too now. Alexandra, I'm so sorry. I didn't know about any of this. Of course you didn't know, because I handled it. I handled everything. Your taxes, passwords, bills, problems. I was your free IT department, accountant, personal assistant, emergency contact, and ATM. And you took it all for granted. Dad's voice was broken. We didn't realize. You didn't want to realize. I interrupted, because realizing would have meant feeling guilty, would have meant changing. It was easier to just let me handle everything and tell yourselves I was so capable and didn't mind helping. The food arrived. Nobody touched it. After a long moment, Dad spoke again. The IRS penalties. The credit card debt. We had to sell the lake house. We barely got anything for it. It was a distressed sale. We needed the cash immediately. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but we don't own it anymore. I set down my wine glass. I know. Dad blinked. You know? The mysterious LLC that bought it this morning? That was me. The table erupted. What? How? You bought the lake house. I pulled a set of keys from my purse and set them on the table. I bought it back. Paid cash. 20% above market value. The deed is in my name. My property. Dad's hands were shaking. Why would you do that? Because you're right. It shouldn't have been sold. It's been in the family for 20 years. Grandpa built that deck himself. Mom planted those rose bushes. It matters. Mom reached for the keys. I pulled them back. But here's how it's going to work from now on. I continued. You can still use it. You can still have your summer vacations there. Your 4th of July barbecues. Your Christmas gatherings. For free. I won't charge you rent. Dad exhaled in relief. However, I continued, my voice hardening. I decide who's allowed there. I decide who sleeps in which room. And I decide who's welcome on my property. I looked directly at Emma. You're banned. What? Emma gasped. Until you pay back every penny you owe me. $15,000 for the lawyer. $3,000 for the civil settlement. $3,600 in interest. Plus $10,000 you took from Harrison to betray me. That's $31,600. I'll send you an invoice. Emma's face crumpled. The lake house is my favorite place in the world. You can't. I can. I do. Those are my terms. Emma looked to her parents for support. Dad and Mom both looked away. Natalie spoke up, her voice quiet but firm. You earned this, Emma. You did this to yourself. Emma burst into fresh sobs. But this time, Nobody moved to comfort her. The waiter appeared to clear the untouched food, reading the room and disappearing quickly. Mom dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. "What do you want from us, Alexandra? How do we fix this?" I stood, picking up my bag. "I don't want anything from you. That's the point. I don't need you anymore. I don't need your approval, your validation, or your love. I needed those things when I was the family doormat. But that person died in a hostel room in Peru." I pulled out my wallet and placed $300 in bills on the table. "Dinner's covered. Consider it a final gift." I walked toward the door, then paused and turned back. "You can keep using the lake house. You can keep having your family gatherings. But from now on, you do it on my terms. Because I hold the keys, I hold the deed, and I hold all the cards." I looked at each of them in turn. Welcome to what it feels like when someone else has all the power. I hope you learned something from it. Then I walked out of the restaurant, leaving my family sitting in stunned silence around a table full of cold, untouched food. Outside, the Chicago night was crisp and clear. I felt lighter than I had in years. The first-class lounge at O'Hare Airport. I settled into a corner seat with a view of the departing flights. A glass of champagne in one hand and my tablet in the other. I was reviewing contracts for the Tokyo negotiation. Nexus was expanding into the Asian market, and Bridget had chosen me to lead the initiative. It was the kind of opportunity that would have seemed impossible 2 years ago. 2 years. Had it really only been 2 years since that phone call from my mother? Since the freezing rain and the betrayal and the decision to disappear? It felt like a lifetime ago. It felt like it had happened to someone else. My phone buzzed against the armrest. A text message. "Mom, happy birthday, daughter. I'm sorry for everything. I'm proud of you." I stared at the message. A year ago, those words would have meant everything. No, I felt nothing. It was my 30th birthday. I'd forgotten about it entirely until my assistant had sent me a reminder yesterday, asking if I wanted the day off. I declined. I had work to do. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could write something warm, something that opened the door to reconciliation. I could write something cutting, something that twisted the knife. I could write an essay explaining everything they'd done wrong and everything I'd learned. Instead, I typed 6 words. "Thanks, Mom. I'm busy in a meeting." Polite, distant, professional. I hit send, then immediately switched my phone to airplane mode. The boarding call came. I gathered my things and walked to the gate. The flight attendant scanned my boarding pass. "Welcome aboard, Ems Reed." I settled into my seat when a window, the kind of seat Emma had enjoyed on my $4,000. But this time, I had paid for it myself, with money I'd earned, for a trip I'd chosen. The plane pushed back from the gate, and I looked out the window as Chicago began to shrink below me. I could see the lake, dark blue in the afternoon sun, could see the skyline, the buildings where I'd worked and struggled and finally succeeded. I thought about the lake house, about my parents, probably planning their summer vacation there, about Emma, calculating how long it would take to save $31,000, about Natalie, who'd called 3 days after the dinner to apologize, who'd asked if we could start over, as real sisters this time, not as user and utility. I had said maybe. I wasn't ready to close that door completely, but I wasn't ready to open it wide either. The plane lifted off, pressing me gently back into my seat. Through the window, I watched Chicago disappear into the distance, becoming just another city on the map. I wasn't running anymore. I wasn't hiding. I was simply living my own life, on my own terms, answerable to no one but myself. I quietly closed the door. Finally, I could breathe. CTA. Speed minus 10%. Pitch +1. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like a utility in your own family, I want you to know that you're not alone. This channel is about boundaries, self-worth, and the quiet strength it takes to walk away from people who drain you. If you found value in this story, please consider subscribing. Your support means everything. Thank you for listening, and remember, the door to your heart belongs to you. You decide when to open it, and you decide when to close it. Until next time.